All right, welcome to day 16. Just want to touch on a couple things briefly today. First is we're going to look at sleep in week 1 versus the sleep in week 2. Interestingly enough, so my average sleep in minutes or hours and minutes in week 1 was 6 hours and 41 minutes. That includes time going to the time I went to bed, the time I woke up, minus any restless activity that was in there. So 6 hours 41. In week 2, the average was 6 hours and 24. So a reduction in the average amount of sleep per night by 17 minutes. I don't really feel any more tired or exhausted, which is kind of a good thing. So less sleep and being able to do more, that's a plus. Cool thing is the amount of restless minutes per night on average, week 1 was 32.6 restless minutes, and week 2 was 30.1. So quality of sleep going up, I suppose, if we're looking at that as a gauge. Reduced by about 8%, 7.5%, which is pretty neat. So we'll have a look at next Friday or next Saturday how week 3 goes, and if it continues to go down, then sweet. Second thing is, last night I had an appointment with a nutritionist, which was awesome. Provided a food diary of about 5 days, which included last weekend, so gave a fairly good cross-section of stuff that I was eating. A lot of, obviously, home-cooked meals, but on the weekend, we were out Saturday night, and also on Sunday we were in Toowoomba. So the food that we were eating when we were out went in there, as well as all the good stuff we were cooking at home. So a couple obvious things now that I know that we're missing. Nuts and seeds, just complete lack of nuts and seeds, only because, to be honest, I didn't buy them. I have no problem eating them, and in today's shop, I'm definitely going to put together basically a trail mix and just have some of that every day, because there's a fair bit of stuff that I was not getting my daily requirement, and really because I was just lacking some of those nuts and seeds. One of the key things with the rice we're eating, white rice changed to brown rice. Gonna try to do that, but Kat's not a fan, so we'll see how we go. Apparently there's a brown rice and quinoa mix you can buy from the supermarket, so I might try that first. And one of the really interesting things, a lot of people ask me, I'm not eating meat, where do I get my protein from? Legumes is a really good source, but my protein intake is basically 100%, right? It sits at 98% of my daily requirement. And if you look at the macros of my diet, protein makes up 13% of the food that I'm eating. So 13% of the diet gives me 100% of my, almost 100% of my protein requirement. So think about the types of meals I was eating before, where half the plate or more was meat, a tiny bit of carbs or starch, and maybe the same amount of vegetables. So very interesting that the food that I'm eating is providing me a lot of what I need for a lot of things. And the stuff that I'm missing easily got from other sources of plant-based food, so that's pretty good. That's pretty much it for today. Going to go out and do a bit of a shop, and I suppose one of the biggest things, especially for the nutritionist, is the variety of food, right? And one of the things that I've noticed about the way I was eating, and the way a lot of people do eat, to be honest, is a complete lack of variety in the food that we eat. We tend to cook the same meals. We tend to buy the same ingredients because we know them, and we're comfortable cooking and eating those things. But often it doesn't give us enough of a cross-section of nutrients, enough of a variety of nutrients to be able to give us everything we need. So very interesting. And one of the things that she mentioned that would really help as well with some B vitamins that I'm lacking is eggs. So a strong consideration is going to go into including eggs back into my diet after the 4 weeks, potentially. So we'll see how we go. But that's it for today. We'll catch you tomorrow.